The Israelis are materialists. They think that if they eliminate a commander, that they would stop the act of resistance or the idea. They are killing the idea of resistance. Martyr commander Ali Saleh. He was assassinated by the Israeli Mossad in August 2003. He was an inspirer for a lot of generations. Those who were martyred in the 66 Days War, they were probably the generation that was born in the years where Ali Saleh was assassinated.
Hey everybody, this is Laith Marouf from Free Palestine TV. Before we continue with this report, I ask you to press the subscribe button on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and to go to our website, freepalestine.video, to donate so we can continue bringing you these field reports in Lebanon and in Palestine. We are in Brital village in the Beqaa Valley, the central part of the Beqaa Valley, and we have with us today a special guest, Ali Mourad, analyst and strategist, who's
Hello, Laith.
Habibi Ali.
How are you?
He's from this location, and he's going to help us understand what happened in Brital throughout the war, what's the importance of this village and the region around it in terms of resistance, and what is happening currently as the reconstruction and recovery from this war continues. Ali Habibi, this location, it seems that there was an air raid here during the war. Tell us what happened here.
We are standing on the rubble of what used to be a 300 meters house that belongs to Muslim family here in Brital. There was a massacre here carried out by the Zionists during the 66 days war. A total family was eliminated by those Zionists.
I think
seven martyrs. 7 martyrs in this massacre. Of course, right now we are standing here months after the crime. The whole neighborhood was affected by the airstrike here. The damage that took place in the surrounding houses and shops.
There was a coffee shop here, right?
Yes, there was like a coffee shop here.
And the house behind it is damaged. Across the street, the reconstruction hasn't started, or did it start? We've been seeing, when we go to the south, many of the villages rebuilding some things. Did you see beginnings of reconstruction, or it's just the removal of rubble right now?
Well, you can say that they are still in the process of removing the rubble. The reconstruction phase hasn't started yet. Of course, some partial damaged houses, they were reconstructed and repaired. Unfortunately, the owners of this house here, they don't exist anymore. So perhaps their inheritance would rebuild again. I have no idea, but I can tell you, but because I was here the day was the massacre, the massacre took place. I was like 300 meters down, and I saw the moment the missile hit this house. It was a terrible day actually, because some people here in the neighborhood, they got injured even when they were staying in their homes, their rooms. The nature of the missile, I don't know what was the nature of the missile, but it was it caused a huge damage here in the neighborhood.
There is going to be local municipal elections in Lebanon on the 18th of May, in a few weeks from today. There is, of course, coalitions being built, and every party is trying to win seats in these municipal elections. We have with us the local candidate, Muhammad Mazloum, who is representing the coalition for the area that includes Hezbollah. المنطقة عندكم بريتال هون طبعا صار في ضربات ومجازر وتدمير. كيف وضع الإنقاذ حاليا ودعم العائلات؟
عادة نحن وقت تتعرض البلدة لأي مجزرة في عنا فريق عمل. أول شيء يعني بيتألف من الدفاع المدني، شو فينا ننقذ من الأشخاص اللي بعدها ممكن يكون جرحى ممكن، والشهداء بدنا نحاول نلمهم لحتى نعمل لهم مراسم تكريمية، لأنه هودي نحن نعتبره هذا شهيد الأمة، مش مراسم دفن، مراسم احتفالية للشهداء. نحن شهداء نعملهم عادة. هذا اللي صار. وإضافة يعني نحن حادث يعني كجهة بنتابع الجريح حتى الشفاء، إضافة للخدمات اللي نحن قدمناها بالحرب للأهالي الصامدة هون. تشمل الخدمات الصحية، تشمل خدمات المواد الغذائية، تشمل الإيواء، لأنه نحن ناس إجوا لعنا من برا من القرى اللي تضررت، وناس راحوا من عنا، وأهلنا الصامدين نحن هون كنا ملزمين فيهم خلال فترة الحرب 66 يوم.
هو اللي صار طبعا أنتم كان في تكافل مجتمعي،
نحن كان عندنا تكافل مجتمعي
بين كل العوائل والعشائر الموجودة خلال الحرب، وأنا بمنظوري أنا يبدو أنه هذا التكافل والتكامل ينحمل هذا للانتخابات كما رأينا أنتم في التوافق الموجود. يعني أنتم كل المنطقة
نحن خلال 66 يوم ما سمعنا أي تأفف من الناس الصامدة الموجودة. كلهم كان خيارهم خيار مقاومة، كلهم كان خيارهم خيار جهاد، كلهم كان خيارهم خيار صمود وعدم تخاذل من كل جميع أطياف العائلات والأهل الموجودين بالضيعة. هذا كتير انعكس على الشيء اللي صار بالانتخابات البلدية اللي نحن قادمين عليها، اللي هو التوافق العائلي اللي بده يصير إن شاء الله.
طيب نتمنى لك كل التوفيق في هالانتخابات أستاذ مظلوم، وإن شاء الله نرجع نشوفك.
الله يبارك فيك.
الله يخليك.
أهلا وسهلا. أهلا وسهلا. الله يبارك.
This is the site of the second massacre. Tell us a little bit about this.
In this house, there was a family from the Laith clan. The massacre took place in the last night before the ceasefire took place. 11 martyrs were martyred here. A 60-year-old man and his wife, his 2 sons, and their grandchildren. There was only one survivor of this massacre. He was a 5 years old boy. He was found on the top of the damaged building. He was sleeping. And it was miraculous that he was only partly injured. They found the pillow with him.
Wow.
on the roof of the building.
You know, we saw this week in Gaza the images of those 2 children that, you know, their home was blown up and they ended up on the roof of another building, one of them surviving and the other child in 2 pieces. This child lived the same thing.
Exactly, yes.
And survived. But he's too young, alhamdulillah, to remember probably this trauma.
Exactly.
But he will never...
Of course, he will continue his life without his parents. Of course, his uncle, an officer in the Lebanese army, he is raising him now.
In Gaza now we have the largest cohort of orphans in recorded history.
Exactly.
But we also have a lot of orphans and widows here in Lebanon. And those families, we should never forget this whole battle for the liberation of Palestine. This is all part of the same, sacrifice for our liberation of Palestine.
This is a proof that we have the same blood, we have the same cause. We also share the same history and the same geography, actually, because before the Sykes-Picot, we were all one nation in one area, governed by one authority, actually.
Ali, we are in the Martyrs Cemetery of Brital. There's a lot of new graves. Can you tell us what happened in this 66-day war in terms of martyrs, civilian and mujahideen?
Well, first of all, as you have seen here, we got about 50 martyrs during the 66 days war. Of course, there are more martyrs, the fighters who were martyred during the 11 months period before the all-out war. Of course, here the Zionist enemy killed civilians during the 66 days war. It took place in about 4 or 5 houses only. We got more than 22 civilians who were martyred during the 66 days war. Of course, there are more than 31 martyr fighters who were martyred in South Lebanon.
On the front?
Yes. Brital is 100 kilometers far from the borders between Lebanon and occupied Palestine. But we, in this village, we have fighters who went there to defend the lands of the south. Many of them, they had several commands and responsibilities during the war. But of course, some of them, as you can see in the south, their bodies haven't been restored yet. So some of the martyrs here in the cemetery here, there is no grave for them because of the nature of the missiles that the Israeli enemy used during the war. We got 2 brothers, for example, here from Muslim family. One of them, he was informed that your brother was martyred during the battle. So they were asking him to withdraw from the battle.
That's
go
because,
back to the village.
Because obviously if there's only one boy in a family, you don't want them to lose the end the bloodline.
Exactly. So he refused. He said, I don't want to go back. This is my duty, this is my responsibility to defend. And he kept on fighting, and it took like 2 weeks. He was martyred too. But his body hasn't been retrieved. Not a single part of his body.
This is something that we saw here in Lebanon during this war, and also in Gaza, this use of these weapons that disintegrate completely any living flesh and doesn't leave. This is one of the many illegal weapons that the Zionists have used in this war. But this graveyard is obviously bigger than just the number of martyrs that died during this al-Aqsa flood.
Exactly.
Seems like there's generations of martyrs. Explain to us, the fact that we have people from the 80s, people from 2006, why Brital has such a heavy history of giving to the resistance.
Hezbollah, you can say it was born here in this village. The early founders of Hezbollah, they used to reside here. Some were from outside the Beqaa Valley and some of them were from the area here. In this cemetery, you can see a grandfather and his son and his grandson. So, as you said, there are generations of martyrs here in this cemetery. You got more than 160 martyrs in this cemetery. Actually, in the it is said in the area here in the Beqaa Valley that Brital is the mother of martyrs. They call it like this. Right behind me, you can see the graves of the martyrs that were martyred in 1983, starting from 1983 till the late 90s. You got the martyrs in the 2006 war. Of course, you got the martyrs during the last war since al-Aqsa flood. So yes, the people of the village here, they are proud of their martyrs. So they carry on some activities here in the cemetery. They practice some rituals here. Of course, every Thursday, the mothers and the families of the martyrs, they come here to commemorate their beloved, their martyrs.
Of course, every Eid.
Exactly.
And there's the Hezbollah Martyrs Day.
Exactly.
That the whole country comes out to the graves. There is a very famous martyr that we saw outside his car that he was assassinated in. Maybe we can go see his grave and talk a little bit about
sure.
more him.
Martyr Commander Ali Saleh. He was assassinated by the Israeli Mossad in 2003, in August 2003. He was a leader in the covert operations against the Zionists. He used to be a comrade of the Palestinian resistance factions. The Israelis accuse him of being responsible in managing and planning the many operations that took place in occupied Palestine.
During the Second Intifada.
During the Second Intifada. Of course, his family, they are proud of him. They speak about how he used to covertly get inside Palestine. He used to go to Gaza, to West Bank.
Let's read the Fatiha for him.
Bismillah.
Let's go see this car. You said they put an IED inside the car or on the road?
No, inside the car.
And
actually, in the seat, the driver's seat.
Oh Lord!
He was driving his car.
And the explosion happened in Beirut,
Yes.
in the Dahiya, in the southern suburb.
In the Kafa'at area, in August 2003. He was driving a BMW.
Wow. So his family decided to bring the car
and
all
put
the
it-
way from the Dahiya to bring it out here.
Exactly. They used to put it next to his house in the village. Then they chose to move it to next to the Martyrs Cemetery. As you can see, the
Damage is
damage.
extensive. So yeah, the Israelis definitely use the method of assassination, but it doesn't seem like it's much successful. What do you think about this?
Of course, the Israelis are materialists. They think that if they eliminate a commander, that they would stop the act of resistance or the idea. They are killing the idea of resistance. Actually, this martyr has been an inspirer for a lot of generations. During the, of course, those who were martyred in the 66 Days War, they were probably the generation that was born in the years where Ali Saleh was assassinated. Of course, he inspired them, he and other assassinated leaders. So the sentiment here is like the more you kill, you assassinate, the more we are committed to the path of resistance. This is the main idea that the Zionists failed to understand.
Well, Brital has given a lot of martyrs and a lot of its blood and sweat to defend Lebanon and Palestine. And now it's also giving to the Syrian refugees that are arriving as the HTS Wahhabi death squads commit their massacres in Syria against the Alawis, Shia Christians, and the moderate Sunnis that are anti-Wahhabi. And so we will go right now, inshallah, be able to see some of those families and speak to them, see how Brital is giving them a new home, and maybe we can hear some of their testimonies of the crimes that they witnessed in Syria. إبراهيم حمدين، الله يحميكم والحمد لله انكم وصلتوا بالسلامة. إبراهيم، بس لو تخبرنا انتوا بالضيعة تبعكم بحمص شو صار، شو شفتوا لاضطريتوا تهربوا لهالدرجة؟
اللي صار هدول المسلحين جماعة الجولاني أو ما شابه، يعني صاروا يعتدوا على الأطفال، صاروا يعتدوا على النسوان، صاروا يعتدوا على الكبير قبل الصغير. يعني كذا موقف شفناه إنه يقتلوا العالم، يعذبوهم بطريقة بشعة هيك. هلا نحن بهالواقع هذا اللي عشناه، خفنا على أطفالنا، خفنا على نسواننا وحريماتنا. يعني عندك عن الخوف اللي خفناه عن حالنا، بس كمان خفنا على أولادنا. يعني لهيك اضطرينا نطلع ونهرب ونفدنا بثيابنا.
يا الله.
يعني طلعنا بثيابنا بس، الله وكيلك. طلعنا واجينا على لبنان لهون، والحمد لله رب العالمين. ساعة اللي اجينا لهون على لبنان يعني العالم استقبلتنا بروح طيبة. هلا في لا طبعا موجود يعني عالم بتعرف انت، بس اغلبية العالم استقبلتنا الحمد لله برقة واحساس، يعني حطونا بعيونهم. اجينا لهون على بريتال الحمد لله رب العالمين.
على الطريق من حمص لهون كيف عديتوا، من وين لوين؟
هلا نحن اجينا من منطقة القصير زيتا هيك، اجينا من هنيك لهون.
دخلتوا من هناك لحوش السيد علي؟
لحوش السيد علي على القصر على الهرمل وكفينا لهون.
والطريق كان اضطريتوا تتخبوا، شو صار؟
هلا
شفتوا؟
شفنا شغلات، بس اول شيء ما كانوا يحكونا شيء. يعني وقت اللي يشوفونا ما كانوا يحكونا شيء، وقت يطلعوا في نسوان واولاد ما كانوا يحكونا شيء هيك. يعني كانوا شلون بدي لك فرحانين قلب النصر تبعهم يعني. هيك على الطرقات ما كانوا يحكوا حدا،
وهم مبسوطين انه اللي عم بيترك اللي ما يحبوهم عم يترك.
هني خلص اللي مبسوطين انه العالم عم تترك وتطلع هيك.
يا الله.
صار طبعا بعض المضايقات على الطريق، بس يعني على الخفيف.
وارضكم وبيتكم شو صار فيهم؟
كله راح.
كله راح. عرفتوا شيء سكنوا فيهم من
في والله هلا
مقاتلين؟
هلا سكنوا في مجموعه منهم سكنت عنا بالبيت، والبيت طبعا تعفش. يعني شو في اغراض راحت كلياتها.
يا رب يا رب.
ونطلب عوضنا من الله.
طيب، ومن قلت لي يعني لما وصلتوا هون والحمد لله اهل البريتال حاولوا يساعدوكم، عندكم قرايب هون يمكن كمان مزبوط؟
لا ما لي.
ما لك قرايب، بس مع انه مو قرايب، بس لانه المحبه
محبه. يعني انه شافوا وضعنا، انه نحن اللي هالشيء اللي اجينا فيه ساعدونا فيه اهل الخير كثير الحمد لله. يعني ساعدونا، جابوا لنا صراحه ثياب واعطونا اغراض واعطونا كل شيء
ومكان
يعني.
تسكنوا فيه.
هلا اعطونا مكان نسكن فيه.
والاولاد حيبدوا مدارس ان شاء الله؟
الحمد لله. عندي هذا هلا سجلنا بمدرسه هون تحت بالساحه
الحمد لله.
هيك
الله يكبر
الله يسلمك. وعندي ابني صغير في مريض شوي. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ما فينا نقول غير هيك.
Brital has been hosting a lot of the Shia and some of the Alawi refugees that came from Syria over the last 2 months. Can you just give us a brief about that? What's the numbers of families here?
Well, before I answer your question, I have to say that during the 15 years of war in Syria, Brital received many refugees. You can say in hundreds, maybe in thousands.
And those were mainly refugees that are supposed to be against the Assad government, and still Brital, which is pro-resistance, part of the Axis, is still hosted them.
Yeah, and this is the irony here, because the resistance, Hezbollah, was accused that they went to Syria to kill the Syrian people. The sectarian language they use, but they were living in their, in their strongholds. So after the Julani forces took over in Syria, many Shia refugees and Alawites and of course Christians. There are probably like 900 families inside Brital. Not all of them are Shia, some of them are Alawites. Of course, if you take a look to the area, to the wider area, for example, the 8 villages surrounding Brital, you got like 1,300 families.
And this is repeating all over the Beqaa Valley and the Ghannam area.
Exactly.
That's where most of the refugees wave.
You can see the mountains here. Behind the mountains, there is the Ghannam area. Historically, those areas were, they were the same. No divisions here. So when they received the families, they treated them like their own families. No discrimination, no nothing.
Hadi, behind us is Mount Lebanon. The peak still has snow. We're going to be driving back to Beirut over this mountain. But before we leave, you are from the south of Lebanon, but together, me and you, we've already now did 3 reports about what's happening in the north part of Lebanon and in the Beqaa Valley.
About the refugees.
And the refugees. We did the Hush Ali report, we did the Mas'udiyya report, and now the Brital report. What's your impression about the situation of the Syrian refugees, specifically in this region, and as a person from the south?
Well, I can add that the efforts to accept refugees from Syria is not only in Beqaa Valley. It's not happening only in Beqaa. Even before this, we're talking since 2011, the Syrians who preferred to escape from Syria because of the war decided to come to Lebanon, lots of them. And lots of them were deciding to come here to live, and they stayed here also.
Around 2 million refugees from Syria, right?
Yeah, about 2 million. That, by the way, they keep, these 2 millions aren't constant. Some of them go, some of them come as new refugees. So this is like 1.5 to 2 million are always the amount of Syrian refugees in Lebanon. I can add that it's not only in Beqaa. In South Lebanon, we are accepting refugees in our villages. In my villages, for example, there are dozens of families. Some of them, or most of them, came now from Syria after the new regime took control of Syria. And the Lebanese people have been good with both sides, with the Syrian people from both sides.
The refugees that came that were against Assad government, and now the new ones that are against the Wahhabi Dasqa's HTS government.
Even in South Lebanon, we accepted many families knowing that they came from Idlib, for example, and from Hama. These places, many families. I know this because my relatives, for example, are teachers in the public school in my village in South Lebanon. And they teach the sons and daughters of these families, and they can know those families, what are their political affiliation, for example, from their sons, from their 5 years and 6 years and 10 years old daughters and sons. And still we accepted them because this is a humanitarian thing and it's not political. But there is something that I can say here. The people who were not leaving Lebanon and not returning to Syria because of the Assad's regime, and they were claiming that they are with the revolution, so they cannot go back. And they were happy because the Assad regime fell and the new regime took control. They celebrated it, by the way, in many villages in South Lebanon and in Beirut and in some Mount Lebanon, and also in north of Lebanon, yes, Tripoli. Yes. They celebrated the fall of the Assad regime and the new regime took control. The question is now why they are still in Lebanon. It's not like it's not out of hate or something, but if you are refugees, because Assad's regime was according to them a terrorist regime that was massacring them, and now they celebrated the fall of this dictatorship in Syria, quote unquote. How about the new democracy? Why are not going back to Syria? You know, now the regime in Syria must be working in, let's say, in parallel to their political thoughts and political views. So this is a condemnation for the new regime in Syria, but it's also something that we as Lebanese people like to ask the government here in Lebanon. What are they doing about this thing? Because 1.5 to 2 million refugees in a small country like Lebanon, where you have less than 5 million Lebanese people living in Lebanon, you have more than 15 to 20% of the population in Lebanon, at least Syrians who are refugees. And this means that they are putting more pressure on everything in Lebanon. And of course, you mean refugees, you mean no taxes, no anything. It's a question for the Lebanese government at first. It's not for the people, because the people are not responsible for this. And this is not related to any kind of, like you hear the right wings here in Lebanon, the stupid right wing here in Lebanon, they use hate speech against Syrian and a discriminatory language.
But it's also the same ones that don't want them to return.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. These are the ones who does not want them to return because they are using them. They want, let me be very obvious here, very clear, the right wings in Lebanon, the warmongers in Lebanon, who want to initiate a new, start a new civil war in Lebanon against Hezbollah and against Shia, because they want to take advantage of the fact that the Israelis are now bombarding us day and night, and they already destroyed some of the capabilities of Hezbollah. These guys are thinking that they can use these refugees in Lebanon to attack. They don't want to fight their civil war. They want other people to fight civil war for them in order to live in their dream country that resembles to the Zionist entity, one color entity country that can barely survive anything without Western support, and this way they can feel like they are, European ambassadors in this East.
Yeah,
it's the most stupid political theory you can hear, but this is what they are. This is what they think. This is their narrative in their inside talk. So this is a question for the government here. What are they thinking about doing with these refugees in Lebanon? Because it's not a case you want to keep it going. You have 2 million refugees. Also for them, they are living as we always see. What are these refugees doing? Most of them are living in places that are not decent, and they are not living a respectful life. And if they were doing so, if they were living a respectful life, if they were living with basic needs as human beings, it's because of the people are helping them.
Yep.
It's because of the civil society organizations are helping them. Some of the authorities, Hezbollah, Harakat Amal, these guys are helping. The Syrian National Party these guys are helping the refugees. It's not because of the government. So it's a question that we need to ask it every and each time we see a refugee in Lebanon. What is the future for the refugees in Lebanon? It's a question for the government, and it's also a question for the international guys who always support the fact that, oh yes, you need to keep the refugees in Lebanon and they give
because they don't want them in
the
Europe
arguments.
or North America or so on.
Exactly.
And
exactly, they don't want these refugees to go to Europe and to go to the US and to go to other places. They already have a refugee crisis, so it's always returning to us.
Yeah.
We are paying we are paying the
price of all of those wars that the Zionists and the United States is starting.
Yes.
Well, Hadi Hotait, Laith Marouf, we are in the Beqaa Valley. We're going to be heading back home right now to Beirut. Please press the subscribe button on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and go to our website, freepalestine.video, so you can subscribe to a monthly donation, so we can continue bringing you all this content from the field in Lebanon and in Palestine. Until we see you next time, we bid you all a free Palestine.